And welcome back to Janky AF. Now you may ask yourself, why am I doing yoga in front of this 1977 Chevy Silverado? Well, that's because it's the GOAT, as in goats.
Hey.
Now, I may be biased, but I happen to think that upstate New York is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And I've seen the Angkor Wat sunrise in Cambodia, as well as the sunset in the Grand Canyon. But I digress. There's just something about the rolling hills and endless skies smattered with big barns and old pickup trucks that sets me right at ease. Throw in some cute furry creatures in there, and that's about all I can handle. An exemplary manifestation of this little paradigm I've drawn out here is Gilbertsville Farmhouse and New York Goat Yoga, a tour de force of breathtaking views and overwhelming cuteness, and not surprisingly, a nice old pickup truck, which we're thrilled to be driving today. A big janky thank you to Sharon and Vanessa for inviting me up, and please enjoy this little ride through the country. And welcome back to Janky AF, and every car is a great car. It's been a while since we've done a review, and today we have an absolute gem. This is a 1977 Chevrolet Silverado, and I am honored to be joined by Vanessa and Sharon of Gilbertsville Farmhouse and New York Goat Yoga. And Squeak, let's not forget Squeak here, who's also joining us on this ride. We'll talk a little bit about their operation later on, but first I have to vomit some details to you about this fine vehicle that we're driving today in the beautiful pastoral, rural, rolling hills of upstate New York in early September. And where would you rather be than right here, right now, as the great Marv Levy would say. Go Bills. All right, 1977. I just watched this movie. 1977 was the year that Elvis died. And maybe that's fitting because this truck has all of the sort of gaudy 70s cowboy accoutrement that you would expect from such a vehicle. It's in this absolutely lovely, luscious, burnt orange color. Now, a lot of people would probably call this red. I call it orange. And we have just a myriad shades of tans and beiges and browns. We have this beautiful faux wood grain trim everywhere. We have our big centralized grille, our beautiful gauge cluster. There's so much in here to talk about that I'm going to drive myself crazy. To emphasize just how much simulated wood grain is in this truck, if you're sitting in the driver's seat, look to your right and you'll see no less than 3 unique wood grain patterns on the instrument panel, dashboard, and window card. Look at these little ornate, like polished tin things going around your more faux wood grain door panels. You have crank windows, of course, and crank windows always good just in case you drive off of a pier, because you don't need to try to roll down the power windows. This truck is so funny. Now, I drove another Chevy CK out on an island in Maine. Maybe some of you have seen that review. With these big, comfy, cushiony seats and these even nice little, like, sort of lawn furniture pillows that have been laid on top of it. You know, you're not putting on your Preparation H or anything like that. Oh, we got scantily clad women shooting a music video or something. I don't know what that was, but the brakes work. This one is in considerably, and no disrespect to that other truck, but that was an island truck. This actually drives, you know, on the mainland, and so it is in considerably better fettle. Now it's this is my perfect type of vehicle. It did come from Georgia, so it's a southern car, so it's been well preserved, but look closely and you will see many examples of just beautiful patina and jankiness everywhere. It's nice enough that you can drive it, you can enjoy it, and yet it's got just enough jank to it that you don't have to worry about it being some showpiece. You don't have to worry about, you know, backing into a shopping cart every once in a while or things of that nature. Some other wonderful facts about this car. Now, of course, these trucks ran from all the way from 1959 until the year 2000. An incredible run for the Chevy CK, and they were largely unchanged. We think there's a big Chevy 350 under the hood here, a V8, and this is a rear-wheel drive model. This is not the four-wheel drive model, but for just a cruiser around town, you're gonna go paddle boarding on the lake, you're gonna do whatever, that's the perfect setup, really. You don't need four-wheel drive. You're not putting snow tires on this. You're not trying to drive it in the winter. It's perfect. The funny thing during my brief research on this vehicle that I found, two things. In 1978, the year after this, was the first time a full-size truck, according to Wikipedia, was introduced with a diesel motor. And that seems so laughable now that a big truck wouldn't be offered with a diesel for how popular diesel trucks are. So that kind of dates you and shows you what the truck world was like during that era and during that time period. The second funny thing that I learned is that these third generation, or the rounded line model, which also was called the square box model or the square body model, which is a seeming contradiction between round and square, was the first, and maybe that's a hint where I'm going with this, was apparently the first major automobile or truck for that matter anyways, to be tested using computers and wind tunnels, which is hilarious because you can see how far the technology has come along, because this thing, the idea that this thing was tested with computers and wind tunnels to make it more aerodynamic or fuel efficient is an absolute joke, because Vanessa here thinks this gets about 8 miles per gallon, which is just hilarious. I love everything about it. There's cracks in the dashboard. There's you know, tiny little rust spots as we pass. Maybe the cameras will pick that up. 2 beautiful Volkswagen vans there. But none of that matters, you know. You know, it's more about smiles per gallon than miles per gallon, as they say. And now some quick driving impressions here. One thing I love a thin steering wheel, and you cannot get much more thin than this. I mean, I don't have the biggest hands. This thing just cups beautifully in my hands. It's obviously power steering assisted, so it's like driving an old Buick. And it actually kind of reminds me a little bit of my 1995 Buick LeSabre, because you have a tiny, tiny steering column here. And this shift lever is so funny for like a big hulking truck. Everything is quite dainty. Everything is sort of very, you know, just delicate. And I'm sure that's probably not good if you're trying to have this as an everyday driver, but you treat it gently. There's a startup procedure. You give it a little gas, you turn it lightly. You say the name's truck, which is Redding, which was named after
Otis Redding.
And the song about
sitting on a dock by the bay. I miss my old home in Georgia.
Yeah, so it did come from Georgia. It was bought in Buffalo, and she went to look at it and then was immediately involved in a bidding war, which maybe you could speak more to, tell this, the origin story.
Did I tell you the story about how we found the truck too?
Yeah, you said you were nodding off in the U-Haul, and this is a perfect segue and transition to the goat yoga story, which now you guys, I'll just let you take over.
All right, cool. So Sharon and the goats and I, we were traveling back from Buffalo in a big U-Haul truck. All the goats are in the back, and I'm starting to nod off, and something caught my eye on the side of the road, and Sharon's like, "What's up?" And I look at her, I'm like, "Sharon, that's my dream car." She's like, "All right." So she pulls back around, and we take some pictures.
And it was cool because when we first saw it, we just passed it, and then I noticed like something, you know, like Vanessa, you know, move or make some gesture, but we had already passed it. And so she said, "Oh, that's like my dream car." And we had, you know, we were still going, and it's like, it's cool because it's like those little moments, you know, when you're just like asking yourself, like, should we stop?
Yes, I know it well. Do you turn around or not?
Yeah. Right? But then and then I turned to her and I'm like, "Do you want to go back?" Just nods her head, and I'm like, all right, let's go back.
So we go back. I end up going back again with my boyfriend Colt, and he helped me look under the hood, check all that out. And as we're looking at the car, we're going for a ride with the original owner, and we pull into this gas station. This other car pulls up, and they're like, "How much do you want for that truck?" And Colt and I look at him, we're like, "Is this set up?" He's like, "No, we get it all the time." And they both looked at Cole and I, and they were like, "If you don't buy this truck, you're stupid." I was like, "Okay."
Wow. Yeah, meant to be. And sometimes, you know, when you find something like that, you just gotta pull the trigger, do whatever it takes to get it.
Right.
I've done that with several Aerostars in my car buying career. And even if, you know, they give you trouble down the road, which this hasn't, you've put zero maintenance in this vehicle, is that correct?
Correct.
And we're gonna see if we can, I have my speedometer, we're gonna try to get up to a raucous 45 miles per hour, ladies and gentlemen. And feels every bit of it. You know, the great thing about trucks like this and cars like this, it's the sensation of speed. You don't need to go fast to have a good time. This is an absolute cruiser. You can drive it with your pinky finger, and that's what a vehicle like this is all about. Just having fun. Yeah, it feels great. It rides great.
It's the first time I've been in it.
Yeah, amazing. It's your first time in it.
For the birth story of it, but it's the first time I've been in it.
Oh, what an honor. You're there for the first car review. Yep, it's we'll see how the brakes work now. That'll be our next test. It tracks really straight. It's not really pulling, maybe a tiny little bit to the right. The turn signal indicators work, or at least the left one does. The right one may not. Oh, brakes feel nice.
I love the sound of it.
Oh, it just has a beautiful rumble.
Oh, yeah.
It really is purring. It sounds really good. No knocks or anything like that.
Yeah.
Not skipping.
Even Skip the goat is like dozing off a little bit.
And I gotta say, I love the turning circle torture test here. A really good turning circle. I just bought a 2015 Toyota Prius V, and I've got to admit the turning circle on that thing is leaves something to be desired. Now we see our green indicator light come on, but actually a pretty tight turning circle. And with this power steering, it's actually quite maneuverable. Now, because it is so boxy and so big, very easy to place on the road. You know exactly where you are, and you know, you can't really see much below you, but you know, just make sure no one gets in its path, and you'll be fine. Just a beautifully, beautifully styled truck. You have all these beautiful little gold accent things coming down. When I first saw it, I almost thought it was a two-tone vehicle, but it's not. It's just singular color, but then you have all these little accent and trim pieces, your beautiful old 70s Western style Silverado badging and things of that nature. And it's just the complete package. It completes the look, and you know you're in something from the 70s when you're driving in this.
And it fits you, Vanessa. It fits you so well.
Pull up this window a little bit more.
It's a showstopper for sure. When she pulled up on the farm with this after she bought it, everyone came out. I mean, everyone was like, well, who is that?
Absolutely. If you took this to like a Cars and Coffee or something, you would definitely get a lot of attention. You know, more so than probably sports cars and exotic things. You know, everyone and their uncle has an Audi R8 these days. You know, but not too many people have a beautiful '77 Silverado.
It has that urban cowboy feel.
Yes.
Right.
Or rural cowboy for that matter. How's Squeak doing?
She's dozing off.
So I gotta ask, how often does this actually get used on the farm as a sort of you know, are you hauling hay with it, or is it?
Well, one time we took the goats to Gilbertsville for the 4th of July pet parade.
Okay, very nice.
Had some goats in the back.
Okay, beautiful. So it's functioning as a farm truck. And Sharon, tell us a little bit about how you bought this farm and started, what is it, the first goat yoga facility in all of New York State?
Yeah, we bought the farm, so we're originally from the city, from Queens, and we bought the farm 17 years ago just to have a place to come up and relax, ride ATVs. And we, after owning it for about 8 years, decided to convert all the existing buildings into a wedding venue.
Wow.
That was way before barn weddings became such a trend.
Yeah,
so
ahead of your time.
Ahead of our time, like right in time. Everybody thought we were crazy, but who would have thunk it, you know? Like now it's like all the rage.
Well, you couldn't pick a more beautiful place.
Yeah, it is. I always say it was sitting there waiting for us to come and give it its second life. Because as you know, the venue is amazing, and a big part of it is the people who are operating it, all of our staff, but the property itself has so much to do with it. It is ideal for what it is. It really is. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of property with so much history. The buildings are great. It's just fabulous. And so we did that, and we started that, and we started operating, and eventually moved. In the meantime, in the middle of all that happening, our kids bought us for Easter baby goats.
Ah,
And
interesting.
So, yeah, and it was a gift. And you know how it is, you move to a farm and
someone buys you goats.
Yep. So we got some baby goats and immediately fell in love with them. And it was goat yoga. We didn't start the goat yoga idea, but we did bring it to New York. So we were the first in New York State to start goat yoga. And it was immediate. It was just an immediate love affair. We fell in love with the goats and fell in love with the idea of goat yoga. So our next step was to find yoga instructors who would be open to the idea.
In comes Vanessa.
Yep, hence comes Vanessa. So we met Kelly, who worked with Vanessa originally, and she brought Vanessa. She came to us with Vanessa, and we talked to them about the idea, and they both were on board. Immediately got it, and there we were. And we did a practice class, and it went great. And we were like, let's do it. Let's go.
Fantastic.
Let's try it out.
Well, that sounds like, a couple of people, that's the next one, who have good intuition and willing to make, what's the word? When you make a decision that's very committed.
Yes, definitely.
Decisive.
We're definitely adventurous people, but also it's being adventurous and also being open-minded.
Sure.
And giving yourself that room to, just try it, see what happens. If it fails, try again. That's like a really big part of it. With goat yoga specifically, you've heard this story a million times, Vanessa, but the very first class that we put out got like almost nobody, right? Like I don't know, maybe 2 tickets sold. So immediately I was like mortified, and I was like, that's it, I don't want to do this anymore. It's so embarrassing, this is not even going to work. And I just, felt all those feelings and just sat myself down, and I was like, no. I'm like, you said you're going to do this, and you're going to do it no matter what. So figure it out. And I sat there and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to invite everybody I know to a free class. And I did, and that's how it started. And we did a couple of free classes. I think the first 2 were way more free tickets than paid tickets. But, look at us now. That's how we started. And that was, that's the whole, moral of the story, right? Is just to be open, to be not unafraid to fail. Yep. Right? Because what's the worst that can happen? To start over, and here we are.
Well, as someone who paints toilets, the idea of goats and yoga doesn't sound strange to me, but to a lot of people, it's probably like, what is going on here? What is this idea? But boy, once you get a little look at these little critters, you're like, of course this can, help with the healing and relaxation process.
It's great. It's so fun. It's so social, which is the part that I love the best. Vanessa always says it teaches you to really be mindful, to kind of let go of, all your inhibitions, and just don't worry about, if you don't know how to do yoga. It's like, it's so open to so many people. Like it really breaks down so many barriers. Like even that, like we said, like not knowing how to do yoga, sorry. It just doesn't matter. Once you have goats in the room, no one cares. No one's looking. It's just, about having fun, expressing yourself, moving your body.
It's a great blend of animal therapy and yoga sequencing, and they really help everyone to focus on the fun.
Yeah. Well, animals in general are the most therapeutic things. We don't. I mean,
look at this girl.
Yeah, a lot of us have cats and dogs, but just
in the moment, right?
Horses or goats, they really are. I don't know, something about their presence is very humbling and grounding. And when I first pulled in the driveway here, Vanessa said, "Get out. Slow down, take a long, deep breath." You probably had a long drive, and that was the most relaxing thing, and I really appreciated it. And we're almost back now. This has been an absolute pleasure. Great people, a great venture, and a great truck. And boy, it couldn't think of a better locale to do this at, and it just fits perfectly. When the sun shines down, it just beams over this beautiful sunburnt orange. And quite the lucky fellow I am today to be driving this 1997 Chevy, 1977, excuse me. Although they were probably still making it in 97, so easy to get confused. Chevy Silverado. Well, we will put all the information on screen for you all here so you can check out this absolutely amazing venue, whether you want to do some yoga with goats, you want to get married, or you want to get married with goats. Either way.
There you go.
Reach out to them, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed when you see these views in person. So there you have it. Look at that. Timed it perfectly. A true professional. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Every Car is a Great Car, as we put our dainty little shift lever into park here and hear some strange noises about linkage and stuff, but it all works perfectly. And until next time, Janky do thanky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We did it. Thanks, Squeak.
Thank you.
Say bye, Squeak.
That was cool. You're a pro.